What up, everybody? And welcome back to the End Zone. Brought to you by Gym Bag Entertainment. And this is your football show by a guy who just loves talking football. And we're back. And before we jump into any football news, first and foremost, I'm a Boston fan at heart. And we got to celebrate the Boston Celtics, baby. 2024 World Champions. Game 5, baby. Coming home, taking the dub. And all I gotta say is defense, defense, defense. Man, the Celtics team has no holes. We have no holes. Every player can defend, can hit the three, can score at will. Like, we are the most well-rounded, deepest team in the NBA. And, like, let's be realistic here. Outside of Porzingis and Holiday, we drafted everybody. And what we got for Porzingis, like, we got Porzingis and 2 first-round picks. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were supposed to be getting the bottom end of that deal, and we definitely got the top end. Porzingis is just the cherry on top, the last piece of the pie to make us champions, and we got there. And everybody knows that Game 4 was merely a gimme. Like, here, you guys, feel good about yourselves that you didn't get swept in the finals because we rather win at home. 110%. If the Mavericks had had home court advantage, we would have went for a 4-game sweep. And I believe that wholeheartedly, hands down. Everybody knows the Celtics lost Game 4 just to win it at home in Game 5. And, man, what a dub. How about Derek White getting elbow drop face first into the court, chipping his tooth, and not even taking any minutes off, going right back in and playing hard? How about Holiday just everywhere, playing all the minutes? Pritchard with the half-court buzzer beater at the end of the half. It was just incredible ball. Third quarter, just picking pockets. And, oh, man, it was going to be one of the greatest moment in the finals when Tatum steals the ball and hits Jaylen Brown for the alley-oop dunk, and Jaylen goes too early. Jumps too early, comes down, has to go back up for the layup. I mean, it was still cool. We got the bucket, but, man, if he could have caught the alley-oop for the jam, I think the whole arena would have crumbled from the eruption alone. It was just a great series. You know, I got to get up between 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work, and I could not turn the TV off. It was just a great game. Porzingis coming in and playing hurt. You could see it. But just doing what he needed to do, defending, getting that nice jam stuff on Kyrie. It was just great ball. You saw Luka Doncic just melt and get completely broken by this defense. Gave up, sat down on the bench with minutes still left to play. And you know it's all over when the Celtics bring in the white boys. Bring in the white boys. That's when you know it's all over. They brought them out. And that's fun to watch, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm half white. Got nothing against white people. I love white people. Most of my friends are white people. But that's when you know it's over. Some people say it ain't over till the fat lady sings. It ain't over until the Celtics bring out the white boys. And that is just, it was just great basketball. So excited for Boston to get another championship, raising another banner. It's a great day to be a Boston fan. And the Celtics did it for us. And I believe with the team we have, I don't think we lose any pieces this next year, and we go on to another repeat season. How you the best team in the NBA, you don't repeat. You know what I'm saying? You the best team in the NBA, you got to repeat. I'm not going to be happy unless we're 24-25 champs. And, I mean, because it's going to be a while before the Patriots get back to championship status, you know? We got Drake May. We got a nice young receiving core. But it's going to take a little while before we get to that championship status, at least 1 or 2 more years after this year. So we need the Celtics to bring it home. Bruins, they on the cusp, you know, almost got it last year, you know, made it to the playoffs this year. We need a championship, one more from the Celtics, just to, you know, bring that warm, fuzzy feeling back to Boston. So it was a great series, And the thing, you know what, I got to talk about this too, because I feel a lot of hate coming from the media talking about, oh, Celtics had an easy run to the finals, team players hurt, blah, blah, this and that. We sweep everybody. It was an easy run. Oh, the Mavericks, they're going to handle the Celtics, winning 4, winning 5. Luka Doncic, Kyrie, best duo in the NBA, blase, blah, right? But then when we start smash mouth, oh, Celtics are stacked, this, that, and the other thing. We was doo-doo when we was making it to the finals. Oh, we was lucky. We had an easy run. Mavs are gonna dust us. And then as soon as we start dusting, what are we hearing? Oh, we're stacked. Oh, this isn't what the NBA wants. Oh, this, oh, that. Nah. Let's cut all the noise. We drafted perfectly. We traded perfectly. And we played perfectly. Defense, offense, threes, inside, outside. We just played good ball. That's it. And we're in unison. Everybody's talking about, oh, Tatum's not a star. Good. We don't need a star. We need stars that come together and play well. Nobody quits. Nobody's too big for the team. Nobody's over anybody else. It's a one even keel. Just synchrony. You know what I'm saying? We play together. Ain't no overhead, down here. No, it's all here. We play as one unit, and that's why we're the best team in basketball. And as long as we got 2 first-round picks, I think we need to dish those bad boys out and trade up. I like that kid. I think he's from Iowa. I could probably wrong about that team, but dark head, mustache, goatee, 7-foot defensive. I think Horford's probably going to retire. We need to bring in a defensive beast. Let's bring that kid in. I always forget his name. I left my phone at home like an idiot. So anyway, that's enough for basketball. Celtics, repeat, call it, let's go. This week on the End Zone, I got a show for you. For all my fantasy enthusiasts, you know, in the offseason, unless some trade happens or someone signs a contract, whatever, you know, I'm not going to have much for you. So we got to dig into the fantasy. I love fantasy football. So we're going to dig into it. You know, this year, I'm starting my first dynasty league. I'm converting I run 4 leagues. You know, I got my league of record, my home league that I've had for 10 years, the CFL. Then I have my secondary league. The CFL is a 10-team league. Elite League is a 12-team league. I'm converting it into Dynasty. And so that's going to be exciting. You know, first year is basically like fantasy except for trades. But then, boom, next year you start the rookie drafts and all this other stuff. It's going to be great. Can't wait. Super excited for all of it. But I also do a guillotine league. You know, I've talked about it before, but for those of you who are not familiar with the guillotine league, is, you know, you start off anywhere, as many teams as you want. I think 16 is that nice sweet spot. I feel like more than that, then you only have like 2 good players on your team, and then the rest is just like wishful thinking. But you start off 16 teams, no head-to-head. No head-to-head, just points. And every week, not collective total, each week's lowest scoring team is eliminated. Cut from the roster, and then the way I do it, some people make the players free agents. What I prefer to do is to do a 1-round draft where every team, starting from the lowest scoring team to the highest scoring team, gets to pick one player off that team. Now you might get to a point where you don't think anybody on their team's better than anybody on yours, so you pass. Once we've gone through a full round, then I usually take all the players off that team, and then I add, like, just because you can't just delete the team. I haven't figured out how to do that, so therefore we just put a bunch of bums on the team so that the roster's filled up, but like literally guys that will never play. And if someone wants a player on one of those rosters, they just offer a trade, and the person who owns that team is just required to make the trade. And then once you get to week 8, then you do 2 rounds. Week 4, you do 3 rounds, and then so on and so forth until you can run as many rounds as you want until everybody has said pass or done, to signify that nobody wants any more players from this roster. And it's last man standing wins the pot. No second place. Last man standing wins the pot. I had such a good time. Matter of fact, I went out early. I think I was like 4th or 5th guy out. But it was entertaining to watch. It's super stressful for anybody playing because you could be number 1 5 weeks in a row and then get eliminated on that 6th week. It's just the way it plays out. It's the lowest scoring player each week, not total. So winner gets the total pot, and then I do a no-sit league, which is probably the most difficult type of league to play in, most interesting league to play in, is you have no bench. You have however many roster spots. The way I did it was 1 quarterback, 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, tight end, 2 flexes, kicker, and defense. And then you set your lineup. You draft your team, and your team is your team. And then you can add, drop whenever you want, no waiver priority. And then when the bye week comes, you have a decision make. Are you going to take the 0 in that roster slot? Or are you going to drop the player and add somebody who's not on a bye week? The problem with that is, Christian McCaffrey, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Trey McBride, whatever. If they're on your roster and you drop them, someone else could be willing to take that O and put them on your team. I didn't do it last year, but I did it the year before. I'm going to get it back this year. I wanted to try the Guillotine League this past year. Now I want to get them both going. But in the Guillotine, the way I won was every time someone dropped one of their first, second-round picks, anybody who was performing, if they dropped them on a bye week, I picked them up and I took the L on that week. I literally made it to the playoffs with only 4 wins. I snuck right in because I just made the cusp, and then I won the whole thing because my roster, by the time the playoffs came, my roster was so stacked, nobody could beat me. It was insane. I love it. So let's get into some fantasy football here. And this week, what do I have is my sleeper picks of the season. I got some guys on this list, some guys who aren't like super, super sleepers, but some guys that are being slept on. So I'm just going to pick a spot. My first sleeper on this list is not necessarily a guy you want to draft, and not a guy who's even being drafted, but a guy you want to have on your watch list. Literally, like right now, you should be paying attention to if you hear any news coming out about him, and you should be keeping him in your thoughts, and that's Greg Dulcich. Greg Dulcich was supposed to be the tight end of the future for Denver. Last year, gets hurt out the whole season. He was starting to have some buzz in 22. He was looking good. 23, he's out for the season. He's coming back in 24. But, you got Bo Nix. Well, what's better for a rookie quarterback who doesn't throw the ball deep, but to have his security blanket in his tight end? I think Greg Dulcich is going to eat this year. If he's healthy and he's ready to roll, I think Greg Dulcich might be the sleeper tight end of 2024. I think he could be this year's. Now, let's take this with a grain of salt, but he could be this year's Trey McBride, a guy who, no buzz, not really much going on halfway through the season, kaboom, blows up, and then just rides that train all the way to the playoffs. So I'm not expecting Greg Dulcich to break fantasy football, but I do believe there is potential for Greg Dulcich to become, at some point in time in this season, a starting tight end, a top 12 guy you could put in your roster with confidence. But this is not a guy I'm telling you to draft. This is a guy I'm telling you to keep an eye out on, keep your ears open. Good things could happen with this guy, and I like him a lot this season, and I'm going to be keeping my eye out on him. Next on my list is Eric All, rookie tight end drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. What do the Cincinnati Bengals love to do? Throw the ball. They are a throw-first team. Everybody's talking about, oh, should we draft Zach Moss? Should we draft Chase Brown? What I'm telling you is ignore all that and just go after the ball catchers. Wide receivers and tight ends from the Bengals are going to eat. They've got, at the tight end position, they have Mike Gesicki and Eric All. Eric All was highly touted coming out of college and only had problems with injuries. So if he can remain healthy, this is a do-it-all tight end. And I think, once again, we're looking at a guy who could be the next Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride. He has the body type and the architect to be that type of player. It's just a matter of when he can get to that place. So once again, this is not a guy I'm telling you to draft. I'm not even telling you, like, best ball, if you want to take a last round flyer on him just because you drafted two tight ends and you just want to have that third one that could blow up, it could be Eric All. But I'm not telling you to draft him in any format. I'm just telling you to keep an eye out on him. If you do best ball and you want to take a shot, go ahead and do it. But I got my ear to the ground when it comes to Eric All. Next on the list, I have Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith signs with Miami. And what is Jonnu Smith? He's a speedy tight end. He can make great catches, hands for days, but he's fast. You could throw him a screen, he could take it to house 30 yards. We've seen it happen in Atlanta. And what has Miami been missing for years is a tight end. Now, once again, this is not a tight end I'm telling you is going to break fantasy, but on this roster, the way that they run plays, he is the piece that they've been missing, and he is going to eat 100%. I have zero doubt in my mind that Jonnu Smith will eat this season. And in best ball, if I only got one tight end and I've waited too long, my goal tight end in the last 5 rounds in best ball is always Jonnu Smith. If I've missed out on my second or third tight end, I'm taking that jump on Jonnu Smith. And in any league I'm in, if I've got my 2 tight ends, I get them nice and early. Sometimes I like to play that route. I like to go 2 tight ends nice and early, get my 1 and 2 out of the way. But I want just one extra one with my last pick. Jonnu Smith is a smash for me all day long. And that depends on the format and how deep your bench is. In my leagues, we have a deep bench. We usually do about an 18 to 20. Dynasty is 18, but now it will be 20. And in my home league, we do 20. So if you have a deep roster, Jonnu Smith should be your last pick if you want to take a shot on tight end position. Then I got to go Ja'Tavion Sanders. Now, he's a rookie tight end, and I don't even think that Ja'Tavion Sanders is great by any means, but he is going to be the number 1 tight end in Carolina. When you get to the red zone, I think that Sanders is going to be the guy that Bryce Young is looking for. So I don't know that you'll get a lot of yards out of him, but I do believe you will get touchdowns from Sanders this year. And Once again, if you're missing the boat on tight ends, this is a guy that you could be targeting and watch out for. Even wait, maybe not draft him, but keep an eye out for him and be ready to pull the trigger and add him to your roster. If you have dynasty leagues, and I always forget what the slot is called, but some dynasty leagues, which I'm going to do in mine, there are a few roster slots that are unplayable players that it's basically development guys that are in this roster slot. Once you put them in your regular roster, they can never go back to that development slot. But I would pick up Sanders and put him in that slot if your dynasty league has him, because I think he is going to pan out this year. I have a good feeling about him. Next on the list, I got Noah Fant. And Noah Fant, if you remember his days in Denver, he was so good. First round draft pick. People forget this because as soon as he went to the Seahawks, he went spiraling down the toilet because they had too many weapons. They got rid of Will Dissly. And I don't know how it's going to work out, but I do believe that they're looking to throw the ball more. New offensive coordinator, and I can't imagine that they're going to let another year go by of getting no production out of Noah Fant. And I don't believe it's a lack of ability. So therefore, this could be the year of Noah Fant. Once again, I don't think he's going to be no top 10, top 12 guy, but he could be a stash. He could be a bye-week tight end, and he could pan out for you, and then he could turn into a starter if your tight end gets hurt. Take a flyer on Noah Fant. I don't think you will be disappointed. Lastly, in my tight ends, I have Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft is one of my favorite tight ends to draft as my number 2 tight end. I believe that he is better than Musgrave. I believe he has more of the archetype of a tight end, and I think he is going to be the safety blanket for Jordan Love. So Tucker Kraft is my last sleeper for the tight end position. All right, let's move over to running backs. Tyler Algier. Now, I say Tyler Algier because I think as a true backup, not a committee back, a true backup. I believe Tyler Algier is a backup running back. I think he is the best running back at the backup position in the NFL. If Bijan were to go down, if you draft Bijan, you should not be letting Tyler Algier slip from your grasp. Get him at ADP. Lock that down, because I'm not saying Bijan's going to get hurt, and God, please don't let him get hurt. This is the season we want to see Bijan show us everything. Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, these are guys we really want to see blow up this year. We really want to see what they're fully capable of. So I would like for them to go a whole season without getting hurt and be able to show us their full skill. Devon Achane is another guy. Hoping to see Derrick Henry play a whole season. Saquon Barkley. Let running backs live this season, because we want to see what these guys do on either new teams or under new coaching regimes. Or maybe just get like Gibbs, going to get more opportunities as a starting running back. So, but Tyler Algier is one of the best backups, and I would handcuff him. On the off chance that something happens to Bijan, you want to lock that guy down. The same thing with Breece Hall. Breece Hall is injury prone. He's shown that he can get hurt. Braylon Allen is the handcuff you want. If I'm drafting Breece Hall, my last pick in the draft is Braylon Allen. Without fail, Braylon Allen, because he's a big-bodied wide receiver. And if you have Dynasty, he's the youngest player in the NFL. He will be turning 21 during the season. Don't let Braylon Allen, if you're in Dynasty, don't let Braylon Allen get past you. Draft him with your last pick, especially if you draft Breece Hall, because Tyler Algier and Braylon Allen are huge investments in your running back depth chart, especially in Dynasty. You're getting these young running backs. You want to make sure you have the guy who fills in the slot if or when they go down. So even if it's for a game, if you have Tyler Algier and and Bijan's going to miss a game. You throw in Tyler Algier, you're getting production. You might not get Breece Hall production. You might get equal Breece Hall production. You might get beyond. It all depends on the game script for that particular game. But I know if you're missing Bijan and you have Algier, you're going to get good production in that slot that week. So don't let him slip by you. Next, I have Jalen Wright, running back for the Miami Dolphins. Once again, if you draft A-Chain or Mostert, I would recommend making sure before the guy who drafts the other one gets him, grab yourself some Jalen Wright, because this is a committee backfield. And if one of these guys goes down, Jalen Wright is stepping right in. They're only going to give these guys about 15 touches a week. So if one goes down, the other one's coming right in. And they're going to get those 15 touches. And they're fast, speedy guys. They're going to break away. They're going to get you points every week. These are guys that I like every week, but it's a committee. So some weeks it's going to be Mostert who's going to get the points. It's going to be A-Chain the next week. Sometimes you might get both guys hitting at the same time. But if one of them goes down, you better have stock in Jalen Wright because it's just a must. Tyron Tracy from the New York Giants. I like Devin Singletary. I think Devin Singletary is a guy people should draft at ADP. Probably can get him a little after his ADP. But if you draft him, I would get Tyron Tracy because I think Tyron Tracy at some point in time is going to take over that job on the Giants. He's a young player. They got themselves a nice young wide receiver, a tight end, and a running back. I think their plans for the future are to draft a quarterback. They want a nice young team. They got Jalen Hyatt. They got young guys on their roster. They're going to convert. The defense is young. Everybody's young. This running back is going to take over sooner rather than later, and you're gonna want to have a piece of him. I'm not drafting him in every roster, but every once in a while, I take a shot on Tyron Tracy. And then once again, another guy, rookie, Kamani Vidal. Running back for the LA Chargers behind Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. Injure one, injury two. Like, these two guys are not going to play a full season. They're not even going to play a full half a season. Vidal is going to take over. And if you miss that train, you will regret it. In Dynasty, Vidal should be a priority pick for you. And you can get him. Right now, you can get him at the end of drafts. By the time, you're drafting your real leagues, rookie leagues, dynasty rookie leagues, you should have him as a priority. I'd probably draft him in the third round. But in regular redraft leagues, when you're drafting in August, who knows what the news about Vidal is going to be? Keep your ears to the ground because there is going to be rumbling for Kamani Vidal. Then this one right here, I think people are going to be like, what? Is Antonio Gibson. I like Antonio Gibson. I said previously, what did I give him? What did I give Gibson? I gave Gibson just a standard, draft him at ADP. He is going to be another guy who's going to be a security blanket for whoever is playing quarterback for the New England Patriots. They drafted him for a reason because he's a former wide receiver turned running back who can do it all. And Ramondre Stevens made it very clear last year he does not want to be the workhorse. He wants to share touches. And when they got Antonio Gibson, at first I thought, it's a mid pick. It's a mid move, but in all reality, that couldn't do more. Got an itch. That could not do more to help even the veteran or the rookie quarterback. He is going to be a security blanket. And when the play falls apart, Antonio Gibson will be there like a warm hug, ready to catch that ball and make plays with his feet. So check out Antonio Gibson. Trey Benson, the young rookie, James Conner's going to go down. If not once, multiple times throughout the season, he's going to miss games. You want a guy that can fill in? Trey Benson is that. Austin Eckler is a guy who is so slept on. And I'm not saying you draft Austin Eckler and you're going to get Austin Eckler of 2022. I'm not saying that by any means. What I am saying is you might get the Austin Eckler who was in a committee with Melvin Gordon. Kind of like with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. I think Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler is 2024's Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard. But like 2020, when they was both putting up numbers. I think Austin Eckler will be a steal in drafts this year, and you better grab him at ADP because I'm not saying he's going to be plug and play at the number 2 slot, but he's going to be a week-to-week flex spot. He's going to be a RB2 on a bye week, and then with the potential to become a number 1. Because remember, this is Austin Eckler. He played hurt all year with a high ankle sprain that he came back too early from. So with that being said, what's a healthy Austin Eckler going to look like? Could he get his speed back? Does he return to being that dog? Now that he shares the backfield with Brian Robinson, the load's not completely on him. Does he have the ability to not take so much damage in order to last the whole season? I don't know about you, but I want that value. So when it comes to Austin Eckler, I'm smashing the button all day long. Then we move on to Tony Pollard. I'm talking it. Oh, excuse me. No. Raheem Mostert. I think Raheem Mostert, he's going in like the 8th round. I don't know how the top 5 running back last year is dropping below everybody. He's below Brooks and Montgomery and Tony Pollard. This dude's dropping so low in drafts. It's a steal. Ski mask on, smash the button, Raheem Mostert. He might not play a whole season, but what you get from him is going to be dynamic until he gets hurt. And as low as you get to draft him this year, it's worth it. It's worth the risk. But what if he plays all year? I remember last year, shout out to my boy Pat, he traded early Raheem Mostert. He got Raheem Mostert for Damian, wow, why am I being able to say his name? Houston running back. He traded him straight up, and everybody, including me, was like, oh, wow. Oh, Dameon Pierce. He traded Dameon Pierce to get Raheem Mostert straight up, and everybody's like, man, you just trade raped yourself. Wow, that's crazy. Raheem Mostert, top 5 running back. Dameon Pierce, bottom of the pile. Not even, I wouldn't even call him rankable. He wasn't usable at all in fantasy last year. So, what if he's healthy all year again? What are we going to see? We're going to see Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram all over again. It's going to be smash mouth football. So, moving on, Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, everybody's sleeping on him this year as well. He's dropping really low in drafts. You can get him as an RB3 in most rosters. RB2 if you're doing 0 RB. And he was hurt last year. He played hurt. He wasn't right until week 11. And what happened in week 11? He scores his first touchdown. He's putting up double digits every week, throwing up 100-yard games. I mean, Tony Pollard, I traded for Tony Pollard at week 11, right before week 11, and I put him in my roster. And it was smash mouth for the rest of the time. So I think Tony Pollard on this new roster, trying to make things work. He's a pass-catching running back. They paid him the money. He's going to get the early down work. It's going to be a committee between him and Spears, but with him taking the lion's share of the workload, Tony Pollard is going to return to form. If you're doing 0 RB, look for Tony Pollard to be that number 1 running back for you, and I think it's going to work out. They've made adjustments on that O-line. Tony Pollard could make it work. And then I have Javonte Williams. Another guy people are sleeping on. I had him last year. And, yes, he was not good in the beginning of the season. And rest of the season, when he was playing and he was getting his touches, he wasn't a 20-plus guy, but he was getting you into the teens. He's a guy you throw in the flex. He's a guy you put in your roster on a bye week. And if you can get him as RB4, sometimes even RB5, smash the button. Everybody is on Jaleel McLaughlin's nut right now. What did he do last year? Like, everybody's talking about his efficiency metrics. Yeah, based on like super limited touches. What are we talking about here? Jaleel McLaughlin is just like a thought bubble right now. There's no legitimacy to this. Everybody was on him last year saying you should draft him with your last pick. And if you were lucky enough to draft him in best ball, you got a few games out of him. But that was it. Jaleel McLaughlin is not the guy. He's going to have moments. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Jaleel McLaughlin is not going to have moments. I'm not even saying you shouldn't draft him in best ball. Smash the button in best ball. But in redraft leagues, Javonte Williams is going to be the guy that you want this year. Count on it. Like, I'm not telling you he's going to be the 20-plus point a week guy. But I'm also saying that there's potential for that to happen. So let's not sleep on Javonte Williams anymore, because homeboy is gonna get it done, and I'm gonna be the one clicking the button for it. All right, so let's go on to wide receivers. Malachi Corley, poor man's Deebo Samuel. Nobody's really Deebo Samuel. Malachi Corley's like a poor man's Deebo Samuel. And I like this kid a lot, like another Jalen Reed guy who makes plays with his feet. Get him the ball in short yardage, and he's going to break and break tackles, make guys miss, and get the yardage for you. And once again, this is a guy I like at the end of drafts. And right now, you can get him with your last pick, second to last pick. And if Aaron Rodgers is 100% healthy this year, Malachi Corley is a guy I am looking out for. And if I get 2-3 weeks of a healthy Aaron Rodgers, I might just pick up Malachi Corley just on the off chance that he blows up. And right above him, I got Dontavian Wicks, another guy on Green Bay. I think a lot of his ability to show that he could be valuable comes at the cost of injuries. But Christian Watson can't get the hamstring quite right. He's seeing a specialist. If he can get that under control, and he's going to be a full go for the season, then I don't necessarily love Dontavian Wicks. Oh, man, I got like a muscle thing going on in my leg. I'm not smashing the button on him as much if Christian Watson's going to remain healthy, but he's a guy that I am looking at the end of my drafts, last 5 picks, and I don't see anybody I love. I'm going to take a chance on Dontavian Wicks. Another guy who I see that in the same way is Marvin Mims. The reason why I like Marvin Mims is because the new rule, the kickoff rule, says is going to give Mims guys like Malachi Corley, Jalen Reed, Jalen Wright, Xavier Legette, guys like those type of guys. Those type of guys are the guys that are going to get those kickoff returns, and they're going to get you the touchdown. So now, depending on how your league scores, do they give to just the defense special teams, or do they give defense special teams and the player? Because if they get it from the player, you get the Jets defense and Malachi Corley, Green Bay's defense, and nobody really wants Denver's defense, so that's kind of a moot point with Marvin Mims. But Marvin Mims can be a guy that you could throw in week to week, hoping on that one 100-yard, 90-yard return could turn into a 9-10 point play. 1 point every 25 yards plus 6 for the tutty. You're talking about 9-10 points, and punt returns and all that stuff. Like, you never know with a guy like Mims. Roman Wilson is a guy I like taking flyers on. I don't really love the Steelers. With Arthur Smith, you don't know what you're going to get, which is why I don't think I want to draft Roman Wilson, but I definitely want to keep my eye on him because I think that Steelers always hit at wide receiver. Excuse me. So I think Roman Wilson could be a guy that really climbs up draft boards, and I think that he could be a sleeper that can get that could throw in the flex week to week and be a real difference maker. Jermaine Burton, number 3 wide receiver, rookie, drafted to the Cincinnati Bengals. And I told you, this is going to be a throw-first team. And Jermaine Burton, if someone gets hurt on that offense, is going to be a smash play. And if no one gets hurt, he's going to be a matchup-dependent player. But, going up against a team like Tennessee, where their defensive backs aren't so good, Jermaine Burton could be a hell of a play, big play guy. And I think maybe 2 or 3 drafts that I've done so far don't have Jermaine Burton in them. And then I also put in Michael Wilson, highly intelligent player out of Stanford. Last year played hurt a lot, but with the addition of Marvin Harrison and Zay Jones, they got Trey McBride. So Michael Wilson could be this super sleeper, a guy that defenses just ignore and ends up going for 100 yards a game because they don't want Marvin Harrison or Trey McBride to go off. And then all of a sudden, Michael Wilson is just catching 6 passes for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns, Those are the type of games I think you can get out of a guy like Michael Wilson. Javon Baker, New England Patriot, a guy I love, super explosive, downfield guy. You got Jalen Polk, who's another guy on my sleeper list, so I'm just going to throw it out there. Jalen Polk and Javon Baker are on my sleepers list. Guys you should be grabbing with your last pick. Jalen Polk is your X-receiver, the guy who can play, not X-receiver, your slot receiver, guy who can do all of it and has excellent route running, great hands. And then you got Javon Baker, a developmental wide receiver who's downfield, big playmaking. And Kendrick Bourne is our downfield playmaker, but he's shown that he is not necessarily reliable to stay on the field. So Javon Baker could come into that spot early and end up being a big-time playmaker for the Patriots. And then on that same thing, you got Pop Douglas also playing in the slot, so you can move Polk into that outside receiver. That X receiver. Baker on the outside. Demario Douglas in the slot. We got these young receivers that could really do big things for us. And I don't know. I'm kind of in on Patriots receivers, especially the guys like Douglas, Polk, and Baker. All guys you can draft with the last pick. So go ahead and take a chance on them. I don't think you'll be super disappointed. Curtis Samuel is another guy signed to the Buffalo Bills and put in a spot where it's designed for him to succeed. Another guy who makes plays with his feet, get him the ball short, and he gets you the extra yardage. They got Keon Coleman, who's more of a big-bodied slot. They bring in Chase Claypool as your speedy downfield guy. I think that this Buffalo offense is going to be sneakily good. I had all the doubts in the world about it, but the more I'm seeing these pieces come together, the more I like it. So Curtis Samuel could be a guy that you filled in your receivers, but you kind of want one more and you don't know who to grab. Smash the button on Curtis Samuel. I promise you won't be disappointed. Then is Rome Odunze, a guy I think people are not judging this correctly. Everybody's saying he might be the 2, possibly the 3. I'm looking at Odunze as the number 1 receiver in Chicago. I think Rome Odunze is going to be the guy Caleb Williams looks at first on every play. Unless it's specifically designed to go to somebody else, when he has the option to choose who to throw the ball to, the first guy he's going to look to is Odunze. These guys are becoming thick as thieves. Best friends. I don't know if you guys saw the pictures on Instagram and Twitter. It's 3 pictures with them, and they got the one where they're back-to-back, foot against, and it's like, did we just become best friends? Yes, they are. They're becoming best friends, and these guys are going to do big things. They're going to be the quarterback wide receiver duo that is going to be such a threat this year. Rome Odunze is going to take over the Chicago team with Caleb Williams, and they are going to be Batman and Robin all day long. So look out for that. And then I got Ladd McConkey, another player I like. Number one receiver on the Chargers, second-round draft pick. I just like what he brings. He can do it all. He could play outside. He could play the slot. He is not just a slot receiver. Good hands. Joshua Palmer, I also like on that team as the ex-receiver. I think people are sleeping on Joshua Palmer. I think Ladd McConkey and Joshua Palmer are going to be a 1-2 punch that nobody is going to see coming, and I think everybody's expecting the run game, but you have Justin Herbert, top 5 quarterback in the NFL. You're not going to ignore that fact. Look for Ladd McConkey and Joshua Palmer to have excellent seasons. And I am not throwing away Quentin Johnston anymore. I think that this team on offense is going to be lethal. They're going to run the ball in order to open up the ability to throw. And I think even guys like Quentin Johnston, I think they're going to utilize him the way he's supposed to. As a slot playmaker. Hit him short, let him make plays with his legs. If he can hold on to the ball, if he can catch it and hold on to it, he's going to make plays. And with the way this team is shaking out, I think with the coaching of Jim Harbaugh, it's going to be insane. All right, moving on. I have, who's my next one? Oh, no more on the wide receivers. Let's move on to the quarterbacks. Starting with Justin Fields. I mean, the obvious thing here is there's probably little to no chance that Russell Wilson finishes the season. Although, he's saying he feels rejuvenated. He feels like he's got a new start and that he's been revitalized. So maybe we get a really good Russell Wilson this season, and that's awesome. Draft him because they have weapons. And if he can turn into vintage Russell Wilson, then he might play the whole season, and we might love it, and now he becomes a fantasy stud. But if it doesn't go that way and it looks like it did in Denver, then they're gonna hand the ball over to Justin Fields by week 6. And once Justin Fields hits the ball, smash him. He is going to be number 1 quarterback. Not, obviously not, top 5, but maybe top 10. He's going to get so many yards with his feet. The defense is going to continue to get him the ball, and he's just going to keep making plays. So Justin Fields is a guy who should be on anybody's roster. Like, he should be rostered in every league, 100%. Drake May is a guy, I just think because of his ability to run the ball, I just think Drake May is a sleeper pick. Like, if you drafted, Patrick Mahomes, and you don't want to draft you want to draft a second receiver, but you kind of want to hold off to the end of the draft, take a chance on Drake May. By the time Patrick Mahomes' bye week's up, he'll be playing, and you can maybe throw him in 1 week and see how it pans out. He has a strong arm. He has an NFL caliber arm. He has some kinks he needs to work out, but they've got a lot of weapons in New England now. Not top tier weapons, but the potential to be that. So I'm kind of feeling him this year, and I'm gonna take stabs at him in different leagues. Next, you got Bryce Young. Bryce Young is one of these guys that I think is going to, I don't want to say break fantasy, but I think that he's being slept on because of his performance last year. And I keep saying it. I'm going to continue to say it. This is a completely different team. Throw away rookie Bryce Young the same way you threw away rookie Trevor Lawrence. And get yourself some pieces of the Bryce Young pie in all aspects. Get some Deontay Johnson. Get some Xavier Legette. Grab some Adam Thielen, who I think is another sleeper. I think that he's still going to be one of those guys, just like Deontay Johnson. They know how to get separation. They know how to manipulate the defender in order to get open and catch passes. I think these two are going to be volume dependent, but I think they're going to get the volume that they need. Justin Herbert. Yeah, everybody thinks they're going to run the ball. I think that is BS. I think they are going to run the ball first, but you got Justin Herbert. You're going to throw it. He's going to put up fantasy points, and he can run. He's not the most mobile quarterback in the NFL, but he can run, and he'll get you some yards. I say, 30 yards a game, plus another 250 in the air, couple tutties. We're talking about a guy putting up 20-plus points a week, so go ahead and make sure you grab him. Will Levis. Why in fantasy is Will Levis falling so far? I always get Will Levis in best ball. I'm getting him in like the last 3 rounds, sometimes the second to last round. Do we not understand? Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins, Chiga Konku, Tony Pollard, and Tajay Spears. They're just going to throw the ball in every direction. And Will Levis is going to be the officiator. He is going to be the one constant in all that. So why are we not getting stock in Will Levis? Don't let Will Levis pass you by. Make sure you get pieces of him in your drafts, because I'm telling you right now, the kid is going to put up numbers. And if he doesn't, and I'm wrong, okay, he's not. He's going to be in the UFL next year. And hopefully by next year, the UFL will have fantasy, and he'll be the number 1 quarterback there. But I like Will Levis this year. I think it's going to be a smash. Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, you're able to get these guys in like 8, 9, 10. So, I've held off on drafting quarterbacks and then just went Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels back to back. It's one of my favorite moves to make. I don't know that I would do it in my league of record, but in my dynasty league, I'm willing to take that chance and just draft both these guys, grab Will Levis at the end, and now I got three quarterbacks. There's no way 3 of them are going to fail. And they're all young, I have them for years to come. It's just easy for me. And then finally, my last smash of the week is none other than Kyler Murray, the guy who's being drafted super late, has all the weapons he can ask for, one of the most mobile and most difficult to tackle players in the NFL. He is so elusive, and he can air the ball out. He's got new weapons, good weapons, decent weapons. He's got everything he could ask for. O-line not so great, defense not so great. But the fact that his defense isn't great means he's going to be in shootouts. This is a smash. Kyler Murray has a chance to be top 5 quarterback, if not number 1 quarterback in fantasy this year. That is his ceiling. Number 1 quarterback in fantasy. So when Kyler Murray falls to me in drafts, I hit the button every time. Do not. If he falls to you at ADP, don't let him pass you. If you get him below ADP, you won. That's a victory right there. Even if you don't win your league, getting Kyler Murray below ADP is a victory in your draft, and I'm doing it every single time it happens. And just a couple things for just a couple shouts at defense. I like Philly's defense, Houston, and Chicago. I think these are 3 defenses that people are not going to be looking for. Everybody's going to be going Jets and Dallas and Cleveland and San Fran and Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Kansas City maybe. But those are the ones that I'm keeping my eye out. And if you wanted to grab a second defense, New England should, if they're fully healthy. I think people forgot how good New England's defense was. So, man, I can't believe I got through that whole sleepers list. Next week, I want to try to get to players to avoid. So if you're wondering who are guys you should not be drafting at all, I'm gonna go over that again next week. But that's all I have for you this week. So until next week, have a good night. Peace out.